Welcome back to the Allie and You Business Success and Lifestyle Show. And in our next segment, which is the Entrepreneur's Expose, as I said, we are highlighting inspiring entrepreneurs, people who have made it against all odds and have really gone after their dreams. And today I'm really excited. We have a fantastic guest. Her name is Sorel Dietzler. And I know Sorel personally because she has been a coaching client of mine, and she's also been a member of my Pinnacle Mastermind group, which is a year-long program for entrepreneurs. And Sorel, I'm so glad to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Thank you. And so Sorel is the president of Kangaroo Konsciousness, and she's going to tell us all about that. And but before you tell us actually what Kangaroo Consciousness is.
Sure. Kangaroo Consciousness is a program that I've developed for after-school educational opportunities for kids to learn about a totally new way of experiencing themselves. So it's about teaching kids all these fantastic new modalities and teachings that are out there now, but are really, at the moment, only available mostly to adults. So it's taking things where we can learn about mindfulness practices, breath work, body work, and translating it into really fun, creative ways that kids can learn about these things.
Well, that is so fantastic, and I know it is such a need right now, and I want to talk all about that and get some specifics because I know people are wondering. But I'd like for people to hear your story a little bit because, you know, there's people out there that, you know, want to go after their dreams. They're stuck in a job that, you know, they hate. Let's be honest. And
that was me.
Yeah. And I know that you've experienced that, Sorel. So can you just tell a little bit about, you know, a little of your background and then, you know, how you transitioned into where you are now?
Sure. Well, I was a very traditional corporate gal. Did my undergraduate, graduate school, went into immediately out of graduate school corporate America, and I stayed there for a long time. It was close to 2 decades. And you want to talk about stuck. My last job, I was there for 13 years, and while it was a great job in a lot of ways, it just definitely wasn't what I wanted to do with my life. It wasn't what I was really passionate about. It wasn't why I was put here on the planet, but because it was cushy, I had a paycheck and I had benefits and I knew what to expect, I just got stuck there for a long time.
Yeah, they call that the golden handcuffs.
Totally.
Right?
I was there.
Yeah, and how does that feel when you're in a position when you know it's not your passion?
Well, quite honestly, for me, I mean, everybody's situation may be different, but for me it was very draining. I don't think that I was living just in every aspect of my life to my full capacity because I wasn't living to my full capacity in that particular area, which is such a vital part of why we're alive.
Right.
So it was draining. So
tell me how you got the guts to take the leap.
Yeah. Well, I think, honestly, it was a process. And so a big part of it was coming to you and working through what is it if I don't want to be stuck anymore, if I want to do something different, what is it? And I had ideas floating around in my head, but they were very kind of out there and not articulated and not really channeled into something that was concrete. So I took the step of finding a coach, which I think was incredibly helpful, who's really skilled at making you pinpoint what's it look like, what really drives you, how can you make that happen? And so then once I got to the point where I had a lot more clarity around it, it was just then taking the steps to know what do you need to do to start a business. And again, you helped me with that. So.
Right. So just having a roadmap, because a lot of people, some people have a great idea, but they don't know how to implement it.
That was it. So it was kind of a 2-step process. Articulating the idea, getting clarity around it, and when I had that in place, the steps to actually get it going.
Right. So here you are. Yeah. Now you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And so tell us about Kangaroo Consciousness a little bit. I mean, you know, bringing the spirituality to kids through yoga and mindful practices and, you know, what sort of inspired that for you?
Well, I mean, quite honestly, it was one of those entrepreneurial situations where you're looking out in the marketplace for something that you realize you want or you think you might need and you can't find it. So you just end up having to create it yourself. So for me, been on a spiritual journey for 12 years now, basically. I remember kind of when it started, the first book I read that got me going. And I've had so many amazing experiences, just learning different tools and practices and getting teachings that completely changed the way that I understood myself, the world around me, and gave me a completely different experience of myself every day. And so of course I wanted to share that with my kids, but I would go to all of these things and it would be all adults. And I was excited that people are waking up, that people have the opportunity to learn and learn these things and be exposed to them. But wouldn't it be great? I started to think, wouldn't it be great if we could get people started when they're younger? It's like all these people are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and it's great that we're all waking up.
Right.
But what if we started with young kids?
So give me some examples. Like if, we've got moms watching and they say, well, yeah, I'd like my kids to be more aware, right? Because most kids aren't. And they're in that childlike place. And so how can they get involved and what is it that you would be offering to them?
Sure. Well, some of the things, I'm going to be teaching some of the classes myself, and some of the things that I'll be working with is really creative, fun ways that kids can get an understanding about things like their thoughts. So for example, having kids say, okay, who in the rooms had the thought, I'm really stupid, and see if everybody holds up their hand, which of course they will, because every kid, every adult's thought that. Who in the classes had the thought, I'm really wonderful, and they're all going to hold up their hand. And have little things like little artistic gestures that are in the corner of the room, and see if you've had that thought, run over there, and the whole class is going to run over. And if you've had the thought, I'm wonderful, you can run over there. And at the end of the class, just say, look, we can take all of these thoughts that we have about ourselves and throw them up, whatever the gesture was or the article that represents that thought, we're just going to kind of throw it in the corner and say, you know what, we're just going to put that over there, and realize that thoughts are just things that they come and they go, and we can put them in the corner if we want to. So just fun games like that. A lot of things like teaching them about concepts about a hub, which is a really great concept that a teacher I know of came up with, where you can teach kids that one way to deal with their emotions as they're arising is to look at a wheel and understand that in the center is the hub, which is just a peaceful place where they can feel really calm. And on the outside of the wheel are negative and positive emotional states. I'm feeling grumpy, I'm really nervous, I'm excited about this weekend's birthday party, I love going fishing with my dad, and saying if you're out on the wheel, on a place where you're in a negative space, I'm feeling really grumpy, that you can take that spoke back into the hub in the center, and giving them ideas about what the hub can look like and how they can conjure that up inside of themselves.
So it's empowering them.
Totally,
you're empowering them.
it.
Gosh, wouldn't that have been great? Because we all had those feelings as a kid. I know I did. Feeling stupid, feeling out of place, whatever, all those insecurities.
Yeah.
And honestly, if we don't deal with them in childhood, sometimes we can bring them into adulthood, and it's really not real. So
It's
how
totally
empowering for them to learn that. Children can learn that it's really, they have the power to change those thoughts.
It's totally true. It's really, you hit the nail on the head. That's perfect. It's about helping kids develop self-awareness and self-regulation about what's coming up for them, their experience, and finding that very deep spiritual place within themselves that can be a center for them to deal with everything that's going to come up.
In a fun way, though.
In a totally fun way.
Not like they're in counseling. It's just like having a good time, and then they see other kids around them that are feeling the same thing.
Right.
So that's great. So tell us, and you've got a workshop coming up, and tell me a little bit about what you're going to be doing in that.
Sure. So what we're doing is we're having weekly classes, and in the classes, some of the things I just mentioned, there's going to be music, and we'll be having guest instructors coming in who will be doing things like kids yoga, and some experts who have been teaching kids about mindfulness practices in a really fun way that kids can, because obviously kids aren't going to sit and really meditate,
right?
But it's really fun ways about using toys and various characters that they can use to help them be mindful. And just every week do a different topic or a different activity, have a guest instructor, and so it becomes just a consistent set of classes and a curriculum that the kids can take over time. Right,
so they can look forward to it. So it's not always the same, it's something different.
Right.
So it's kind of like the play gym, but for the mind.
That's it. That's
in a way, right?
Exactly. I call it spirit school for kids.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
I like that. Well, I think that this is something that I know. I was a single mom for a long time, and I mean, there's so much that happens with the kids. Sometimes they get bullied, which has been a big issue in the news for, and you know, parents are at a loss in how to handle it. So I think this is probably something where the parents get some tools too.
That's it, absolutely.
You know, so that they can deal with situations that come up at home. So tell us how, you know, how can people find you and...
Yeah, well, I'm in North County, and the classes are currently just scheduled to be run in Encinitas. So we're starting out mostly in the North County area.
Okay.
They can reach me at my website, which is kangarookonsciousness.com, and consciousness is spelled with a K.
Okay. I like the kangaroo because that goes with your heritage.
That's it.
And Sorel's from Australia, so
that's where I grew up.
Yeah.
And my little tagline for Kangaroo Consciousness was that we're going to teach kids how to jump into joy.
Oh, yeah, I love that. I love that. So do you have anything else planned? You know, I know you had talked to me about writing a book. And
yes, I've got other things brewing. So what we're going to be doing is actually developing a CD where I've got a musician lined up, and we're going to take some of these principles and create, I'm going to be writing the words and wordsmithing some songs, and he's going to be creating the music to teach kids about these principles. So
good.
Yeah, something that parents can play in the car with their kids. It could also be a very fun way to think about these things. Yeah,
so I used to, when my daughter was young, I'd have CDs like that in my car, and then I'd be driving without her in the car and realize that I was singing the song. That's when you know it's gotten really bad.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, these are things parents can learn as well.
Yeah.
So you never know, they may like it as well. But and definitely a book. I have a very deep passion about writing about some of these concepts in a book series as well. So it's kind of classes, music, books, but it's all coming.
Fantastic. Yeah. All right, so that is Sorel Dietzler with Kangaroo Consciousness. That's kangarookonsciousness.com. You're going to hear lots more from Sorel. So thank you, and we'll be right back with Allie and you.